Hi and welcome back. This is part 3 of the 3-part series, and in this video we'll be solving equations to determine the expected victory outcome of the Alpha and Bravo teams. You'll notice that I have two equations here on the left side. The top equation represents the expected victory outcome of the Alpha team, and the bottom equation represents the expected victory outcome of the Bravo team. Once we find the result of the Alpha team, we'll be able to subtract that result from 1, and it'll give us the expected victory outcome of the Bravo team. On the right side, we have the Visual Basic Editor, where I've already inserted a new module, and in this case module 3, and I've also started the sub-procedure for the expected victory outcome. I created an illustration of the equation so that when I'm solving for this equation, you're able to see step by step which part I'm calculating. This in particular is the alpha EBC. And before I start solving for this, I'm going to copy and paste the code from the last two modules into module 3 because this equation makes reference to work that we did in the last two modules, which is the ELO, where we calculated ELO B and ELO A. Let's start with the input boxes. This is all I will need to copy. Then let's go with the ELO ratings. I'm going to copy, let's go ahead and copy the dimensions. Dimensions will need to go up here, and the code part can go right here. And we're going to start calculating this here. Let me just open this back to this window, Visual Basic, review this. Let's start by calculating the difference between the average ELO ratings of both teams. I'm going to call this ELO difference. I'm going to also declare these dimensions at the end up here, but for the time being I'm just going to name them here, which is so ELO B minus ELO A. This becomes ELO diff. You'll see how this makes sense afterwards. Now I'm going to say that the exponent, this whole part, equals ELO difference divided by 400. Well, it's going to be harder to, it's going to delete all of this so you're able to better see what I'm doing here. It's going to be 10 by the power of, oops, exponent. Now I want to calculate this part right here, and so I'll need to use a worksheet function. I'm going to call this power though, equals, and you can name this differently. It's 10 by the power of this exponent. So let's start the worksheet. Function power, and it's going to be 10 to the power of this exponent we calculated. Oops, enter. And now this becomes the result of power. And the denominator now is equals, we can put 1 plus the power, but there will be decimals involved, and so I'm going to use a round function so that I'm able to get it to the nearest, let's see, I'm gonna calculate it to the nearest 4 decimals. And now we have well, this is where we're at. Now we're able to calculate the alpha expected victory outcome, and what we're going to do is go ahead and say alpha EBC equals I think I'm going to round this one too, and do this and say that 1 divided by the denominator, which is what we're trying to calculate, and I'm also going to put it to the nearest 4 decimals. And we're going to say that Bravo EVC is going to equal 1 minus the result of this. Now that we've calculated the equation, we'll need to be able to paste these results onto the worksheet. So I'm going to state that cell A2 shows the results for alpha EVC, and that cell A8, let's go ahead and 8 shows the results for Bravo EVC. Now let's go ahead and state these dimensions up here. We've said that ELO, actually let's go ahead and put 2 ups here. Let's go ahead and state these different dimensions. X, power and deno. And the next thing I'm going to do is format these columns so that when I do run the macro, it shows whole numbers and a percentage for the expected victory outcome. So this is a number, and I want it to be a whole number, and I want this to be a percentage, rounded off to 2 decimals. Let's take one more quick look at the code. So it has the sub and the end sub. Okay, I'm going to run this from the user interface. Let's see what happens. The first guardian. Useful to note that if there is a 100-point difference between 2 guardians, it makes a significant impact, and you'll see that from the results that we'll get on the percentage rates of the victory outcome. All right, so you'll see that alpha has roughly a 74% chance at winning that game, whereas the Bravo team has roughly a 27% chance. The aggregate ELOs are here, the average ELO as a team is right here, and based on these two numbers is these are the two numbers that are entered into the equation that determine the expected victory outcome of both teams. Once you test your macro, I would suggest deleting the first two that we created, which was the input box and the ELO ratings macro slash modules, because you won't need them. You'll just need EBC. Everything that you need is in this module. And if you're ever playing Destiny and you're running trials and you're that adamant about seeing what your prospects are, please feel free to use this table to find the likelihood of you either winning or losing. I hope this video was useful and have a wonderful day. Cheers.